want to welcome you to the Salted Up podcast with Lyssa Kerrigan, and I'm just the producer here. We're going to interview Lyssa, who had this idea of getting out the word and really impacting and transforming culture. So welcome, Lyssa, and share a little bit about this dream and this idea of the podcast.
Yeah. At SALT, we really believe in growth, healing, and transformation. And some of the elements that contribute to that are a really strong sense of community. And we have noticed that there's been a longing for connection, for community, ever since we had COVID. And COVID created this epidemic, really is what it is, of anxiety and depression. And when you look at what some of the roots of those are, it's the lack of being able to connect again or knowing how to connect. And so this is one more means that we hope to bring the community together and in conversation again, even if we have differences, that we can bring a sense of hope to people based on those conversations they're having again. And so we really have some intention on this. We're again wanting people to feel connected to one another, to understand our coastal community and our vibe and the way that we think, and pull those stories, not just what people are doing, but how people are being in the community with authenticity and honesty and vulnerability about where they're at. And then we can learn from one another.
So you started SALT a couple of years ago. What was kind of the idea behind starting SALT initially?
We started SALT because with the pandemic, the need for mental health was extremely high, and it has continued to be so. And most people at this point are either seeking out help from a life coach, from a therapist, from a friend, and some of the issues are just a bit too weighty for our everyday relationships. So it's really helpful when we can have someone outside of our world to look into the world and hear our story and point out where maybe they could have more growth and healing and look at patterns that could be transformed.
And you've said the word transform a couple of times. What does that look like in terms of, this kind of idea of what you're chasing after?
Transformation ultimately means, if I could use the idea of almost, the French word is revenant. Am I saying that right?
Sounds great.
Okay. Yeah. Revenant. And it's to be brought back to life. And sometimes there's parts of us that through life experience, through certain belief systems, we have died to who we truly are. And we're being called out. And anything that is getting in the way of that, we remove. And that is how transformation begins. When we change, when we come back to life, it allows others in our community to do that too.
So in your mind, when you were thinking about this podcast, why should somebody listen, and who is this podcast for?
Okay. Salted Up is the main people that we're targeting. Say this again. Salted Up was developed as a podcast because we have so many powerful, beautiful, hopeful voices and stories that should be shared in everyday life. And when we can hear them from one another, those stories begin to create connection for us. Yeah. And why is it salted up? Because we're designed to be made salty, bring flavor to life, make it tastier.
And you feel like this specific podcast will do that in a person's life?
I do. I believe that by hearing our stories, by sharing our stories, we're creating connection, and that is the very baseline from where we get to grow to.
What will a person expect in the Salted Up podcast?
So when listening to the Salted Up podcast, you're going to hear individuals with their life story from all walks of life who have done some of the transformation process themselves, who have experienced growth, change, maybe are creating that for others. And so their story are stories of how to overcome certain aspects of life. And when we hear those stories, we get more empowered to do that ourselves.
Yeah. So you feel like one of the elements that a person would walk away with is being maybe more empowered.
Exactly.
Okay.
More empowered, not just, more empowered to move forward for themselves. It's
Cool.
inspiring stories.
Yeah. So you personally, you've been at this for a while. You as the host, what are your intentions as the host with these guests?
I'm hoping that the audience comes out with not only inspiring stories that help them want to grow, change, and heal, but they get practical tips on exactly how to do that. And with each of the podcasts, we'll all hear something different. And we all might need something different from it. And so my hope is they hear exactly what they're supposed to
Great.
continue in their own journey.
Yeah. Well, we're excited for you to join as we start sending out some podcasts, and we hope you like and subscribe these videos so that we have a broader reach and really hit the goal of empowering and transforming the world around us. Thanks for watching.